Okay, so in this video, we're gonna go over a slightly more complex and more challenging version of the side-lying hip car. Now, as I said in previous videos, one important disclaimer: whenever you're doing something more complex, that doesn't mean that the more basic version, the easier version, is now a null and void and you've graduated from it, okay? In fact, the more advanced you get, the more you'll get out of the beginner variations, because you'll come back to them with a much deeper understanding of how things are supposed to feel and look. So doing the standing variation doesn't mean that you will no longer benefit from the side-lying hip cars, okay? Now, the added challenge comes from the fact that in the side-lying hip car, when you're laying on the ground, you have the floor to help hold you accountable and kind of block the rest of your body from moving. By standing, you are now removing that block and having to more organically create that tension from the inside to prevent your body from moving. So there's going to be a much higher need for more tension in that core as you're doing this, because there's going to be a lot of temptation to let your body move. But remember, that's what we want to avoid. You're only trying to move the hip. All you're going to need is a shelf or a countertop or something to hang on to, okay? And here we go. I know you can't see my face, that's okay, you just need to see my hip. So I'm using the shelf here, all right? And I'll show you from the front view here in a minute. So before we begin, we have a good firm grip on our support. In this case, I have the shelf. And we have a lot of tension in that core. Okay, we want to keep this as stiff as a board. We bring the knee up, and as we do that, the foot crosses over the center line. Again, you'll get a better glimpse of that from the front view. We come up as far as we can without bending the hips or the lower back. So for me, that's about right there. Once we hit that position, we bring the foot and the ankle out together. Again, resist the urge to turn with your leg. You want to keep everything facing forward. Okay, so we squeeze the abs, bring this out. Then from this position, keeping the knee in the same spot, we internally rotate. For me, as you can see, that's not that far, okay? Because we don't want the hip hike. We don't want this to happen when we're trying to internally rotate. We want to keep everything still and stable, okay? So we internally rotate as far as we can, and then from there, we start to reach back into extension. The compensation we want to avoid here is leaning forward, okay? Again, keeping everything upright, it's just the hip that moves. So we extend, and then we rest. Kind of like the shoulder car, this is half the rep. We go back the other way. So we extend behind us. We abduct the hip. So imagine there's a white picket fence. You're trying to bring the foot over. Bring the foot back around. The front and down. Okay? Try to show you from the front view here. So again, knee comes up. Foot crosses over the center line of your body. So we don't want the foot straight down. We want to emphasize that external rotation as we come up as far as we can. We bring the foot and knee out, again, resisting the urge to turn the rest of the body with it. We internally rotate the foot and then extend behind us, okay? And then we go back the other way. These are going to humble a lot of you, as they did for me. Settle for less range of motion if it means you can better feel the muscles in your hip. Over time, you'll get there much more quickly by sticking to good form versus compensating because you're just trying to get more range of motion than you actually have control over.